Hello, hello. Hi, Asha.
Hello, how are you?
Good, good. So I think we are going today, this week is a non-podcast week. Yes. Last week we had our very epic episode on life skills, which I love
Yeah,
so much. I love it. I love
yeah.
it. I love it. And this week, friends, we decided we were going to talk about wellness or fitness reboots or whatever kind of reboot you need. Asha, do you
hmm
want to? And I should say, for those of you who will be joining us or joining us later, we did not prepare anything today. So
Yeah, this
you're
is
seeing us completely unplugged or unscripted or whatever. So, but I'm going to put you on the spot, Asha, and you had suggested doing a live about this or an episode a while ago. So, do you remember why you suggested that? It was a long
okay.
time ago.
Right. Yes, unplugged for sure, but not unwashed. Okay. So, can you see the wet hair?
Mhm.
Um, well, anyway, first of all, everybody, welcome to our Facebook Live. We actually really enjoy doing this, and I actually think that there is a benefit to us doing this without preparation because sometimes the timing on these things, I mean, as Christine said, we talked about doing this a long time ago. I had read an article in the New York Times, or I don't know if it was an article or more of a toolkit, all about sort of a midlife reboot. It was a general wellness type lifestyle article, the kind that you probably read often. And it was all about, checking in in the various sort of quadrants of your life and, basically offering some suggestions on how to restart those things, whether it was your fitness or your nutrition or your scheduling or whatever, stress relief. And I thought, I said to Christine a long time ago, we should do a podcast about that. And over the months, it sort of just sat there in our notes. But what's really interesting about the fact that we're doing this live right now is that both Christine and I have had experiences in the last few days that actually like required that we have a reboot for ourselves. You know how it is. Sometimes you just get to that moment and it's
Mhm.
like at this point, it's no longer sort of a nice thing to do. It's a thing we both have to do. And so I'm really glad we're talking about this right now. And I'm also just glad we're talking about it in a way that's sort of just open about what's going on,
Yes.
you know?
Want to give, well, also first, I apologize. The giant trash and recycling trucks are like rolling down my street right now. So
I
they're
can't hear.
clattering and do not be alarmed. I think the children are fine downstairs. Do you want to start by giving any context to what? You don't have to.
Yeah.
I can't, I'm happy to, but do you want to talk about anything at all related to why you needed what the impetus for your reboot?
Actually, it's funny. I mean, I won't go into great detail. So I've definitely had a few personal experiences in this last week that have really put the importance of using our time wisely just front and center. I'll just leave it there. I will say that I have been this summer has been an amazing summer. It's been very beautiful here in Portland, but also I've been really cognizant of time passing because my son's leaving for college actually in less than a month. And so I've really been aware in a way that I'm not usually of the fact that time's passing and that seasons change. Let's put it that way. I'm also going to be turning 50 this year. So, um, yeah, I sound like I'm being somewhat vague, but I guess I just had a few personal experiences this week that really made me realize that I can fritter away my time and my health. But why? Why should I do that? That really is a choice, and I don't need to make that choice. So anyway,
Mhm.
that's that's sort of I think as far as I want to talk about it for now.
That's totally fine.
How about you?
Well, you know the entire ugly of what happened, but and I'll share a link to something I wrote about it earlier this week. But in a nutshell, had this broadcast been happening last Friday, it would be a broadcast where I would be broadcasting from the floor in a fetal position in extreme amounts of pain. So I don't really know. I don't know exactly what it was that happened, but I think basically John and I have been calling it a stress seizure. I wasn't
Mm,
convulsing, but that's what we were calling it. Like I just my body just completely shut down and said, Christine Koh, no more. This isn't happening. Like I was up at 5:30. Which I've been getting up early all summer because, I'm the point person every day this summer, even though I work full time. And so I have to carve out these snippets, and I have not been, I've not been doing a great job sort of shutting off work and relaxing. I've just always been feeling frantic, and it just caught up with me. And so anyway, that was a real wake-up call because I'd never had anything happen like that. A lot of people were telling me they thought I was having a heart attack or a panic attack, and I don't believe it was either of those things. I am taking those notes seriously and will consider them, but given the pivots I made over the weekend immediately, and actually have managed to carry throughout, given all that, and the effectiveness of all that stuff, I am feeling that it really was like an intense stress situation, which feels a little stupid. I kind of hate that.
Isn't it weird how we feel embarrassed about these things?
I do, because I'm kind of like, everybody's stressed out, but whatever, it was real, and it felt, I write about this in this post, it felt very like, big picture, my life is great. Everything's fine. I'm gainfully employed. I have a home over my head. I've got as many wasabi peas as I want. I'm mentioning wasabi peas because I just saw Karen Mullerin's. Actually, I don't have as many wasabi peas as I would like right this second, but generally speaking, life is pretty good. So it felt almost embarrassing to be having this thing, but it was real. I was like soaked with sweat. Anyway, so it forced me to recalibrate immediately, and that was a good thing. So why don't we just jump in and talk about some of the thing that's been Karen is saying. Karen Wallerin got me addicted to wasabi peas at Mom 2 Summit, and then now I have not been able to stop eating them. And I actually found some. I got some at the store and mailed her some.
Oh my God! I might be threatening our relationship, this love triangle that we have, by saying I pick the wasabi peas out of that, mix. I don't like them.
I don't know what to do about that. I don't know.
Anyway, moving on.
Right on. I don't even know what to do about that. Okay, so okay. Tell me something you're working on recalibrating.
Okay, so see this wet hair? This wet hair is because I just got out of the shower because I just exercised this morning, and we decided to do this a little earlier than expected. And so, but I still exercise. So my big recalibration is daily exercise. Now, I am not there yet. Let us be clear. This is a little aspirational. I'm at the beginning of this process, and I've started this process many, many times. And I think it's important for me to clearly say, Christine, when you talked about being embarrassed about this stress seizure, I'm really embarrassed about the fact that I have to keep restarting my exercise habit. It just feels silly to be talking about it over and over again, or not talking about it, as the case may be. But I realize, being embarrassed about things, one of the great things about getting older is that you get less and less embarrassed about things, and you sort of realize that shame is a huge waste of time in many cases. And I've just decided that, and for the longest time, I didn't want to talk about the fact that I struggle with a daily exercise habit, because it sort of felt like it fell into this bucket of, I don't know, just conversations about exercise and weight loss, which for me, I just never identified with. But now that I'm getting older, I very much identify with having a healthy second half of my life, I guess you can say. I want to be one of those strong, kick-ass women who's like striding down the street at 75. That is so much more compelling to me than anything anyone was saying in my 20s and 30s about bikinis and bicep shapes. And I mean, I really, it's just not interesting to me, but this is. And so that's what I'm doing. My husband, Rael, and I are sort of embarking on this fitness journey, and he has just taken off like a shot, and I'm finding it harder. And that's okay. We talked about it. it's been hard on my self-confidence. I've been a little embarrassed about that too, but that's how he does things. This is how I do things. And the fact is that we're still on these parallel paths, and I'm pretty proud of that. So that's the main thing that I'm starting with.
Well, I think that's probably, I mean, I know it is a very common issue for a lot of people. Like, it's hard to stay on some kind of plan. To the surprise of no one, you can always have a friend in Karen Walren. She says, I've just begun a daily exercise recalibration again, and I'm embarrassed about it again too. So solidarity, sister.
Yeah, maybe we can just agree to maybe we could just lose the embarrassment. I mean, because it is such an energy sap. I mean, it literally, you want to hear something stupid? Being embarrassed sometimes keeps me from exercising. I mean, talk about, it's like a ridiculous cycle. So I'm just trying to lose the embarrassment and okay, I'm going to show my t-shirt. This is my new phrase. Keep going. Guess who made this t-shirt? Christine Koh and John Baxter. Christine didn't ask me to wear this t-shirt, but I'm wearing it because I got it from her t-shirt shop, Brave New World Designs, because the phrase keep going to me is actually the most inspiring phrase that I know. It is something that every single one of us has access to. I mean, until the end. And on some level, there is some way that we can move forward in whatever it is we're doing, even if moving forward is like crawling an inch across the sidewalk. So that's my new phrase. Just, that's what I'm going to do. So every time I need to recalibrate, it's just a sort of a step in the forward direction.
Yep. I think that's great.
Okay. What about you? What's going on?
Well, I wanted to talk about a recalibration, which is sort of perhaps a little ironic because here we are sitting on Facebook Live. But I realized as I was sort of thinking through or trying to take some immediate action stuff, you know me, I have a problem. Usually it's an internet problem. And then I immediately set a plan into motion to make it not a problem. So that's basically what happened after my stress seizure. I was identifying things. And one of the things that I have seriously recalibrated, and it has actually worked into the work week, which I wasn't sure about, was a digital recalibration. And two things specifically. One is that I no longer have been checking my phone first thing in the morning, because I used to wake up and I'd immediately pop on my phone and just do a check-in on things. And that's not really very good for me. So instead, and especially because I'm such a do a million things at a time, I would put on my coffee and then I'd kind of check headlines and I'd check my email and do a little triage, blah, blah, blah. Now instead, while my coffee's brewing, I look out the window. Since it's usually 5:30, I'll probably see some morning light.
Yeah.
I'll do some gentle stretches. It's literally takes 5 minutes. It's not, it takes 5 minutes for the coffee to brew. So it's crazy how that little tweak has improved my quality of life. And the second thing is that I have been only going to social media. I mean, I have a lot of social media stuff I have to do for clients and for work and stuff. But personally, I'm only going to social media when I am feeling like I am happy and in a space where I would like to connect with people and see what they're up to and be excited about what they're up to or whatever. Because I was finding that part of, I think, what led to my little stress meltdown was that I would be sort of scrolling social media when I was grumpy or bored or whatever. And this sounds incredibly petty, and I guess perhaps it is, but I would actually feel resentful and I would feel FOMO when I'm who the F are all these people who are at the beach right now while I'm busting my ass? It was so ridiculous. Of course they're at the beach, it's summer. But because I wasn't carving out the time for myself, I was getting really mad about everybody else I was seeing. So I was why am I doing this?
And it's so not you. I think that's the other thing is that just not that is not your general baseline.
Yeah, it is.
That's super different.
I'm very happy to celebrate people and whatever it is they're doing.
Yeah.
But I mean, part of it was, so after, I wasn't doing this intentionally. It just is what happened. On Friday, I really struggled posting that original thing about my stress seizure because I felt incredibly embarrassed about it. But I had this moment where I was like, okay, if posting about it could help somebody else prioritize themselves so this didn't happen to them, then if it would help one person, then okay, let's do it. So I felt kind of like I was going to barf, and I did it, and that was fine. And then I just like vacated social media and didn't check it the rest of the day. And then the next day I posted one that there were just so many messages, and I wanted to respond to everybody, but I just didn't want to be online actually. So I just posted one follow-up to say like, thank you so much, subtext, I'm not dead. And then I left social media for like the whole weekend. So, but it really made me think, like when I came all week long since, every time I've come to social media and felt like, okay, like I'm excited to see I hope people are having a great time right now. I've just felt so much better. So this is something that I know is going to take intention to maintain, but it's really important to me because I don't want to be a petty, like I want people to be living their best lives. I want to live my best life. So
yeah, totally. And you want people to celebrate that with you too, I mean, I think, we all feel better when we're sort of joyfully supporting not only ourselves, but our friends and, our family and stuff. For sure.
Speaking of friends, Jessica Ashley is here. She says, also, I think it is so important to see the words of our own vulnerabilities too. We need reminders that we are human. Yes. Christine Koh, you are not a robot with an endless supply of internet capability.
Solution, bullet point. Anyway, no. It's funny that you're mentioning the digital recalibration. I've been doing that as well. Two things that I would mention. Three things. The phone is a big part of it. This was not a problem before smartphones. This was just not a problem because it's not like I could carry my laptop with me everywhere, nor did I want to. So there was a natural limit built into my digital experience, which was that when I was away from my computer, I was away from the internet. Mm-hmm. Boy, phones sure have changed that. And so when you say that it requires mindfulness and intention, you're absolutely right. You have to put your phone in airplane mode, or you have to make some decisions about how reachable you are because sometimes I don't want to look at the internet, but I do want to be available by text. I mean, we have to make decisions about these things. So the phone is definitely a piece of this. But also, so is that decision about why you're going online. And in my case, my issue was actually my New York Times app. I kept checking it 5, 6, 7 times a day, like for new headlines and all that stuff. And then it was like, why am I doing this? I wasn't getting any new information. I was just, I'd already turned off the notifications. So what I actually did was I got rid of the app and I subscribed to a paper newspaper.
Got paper. I love it.
Oh my gosh. I love the news again. I love it. I mean, I don't love what's in the news, but I love the act of reading the newspaper every morning, which I have always loved. My local paper no longer publishes a daily paper version. And when that happened, it just blew apart my news reading, which really bummed me out. But now I get my newspaper every morning. I go out there, I start my coffee. Coffee's important. I start my coffee. I go out there, I get my newspaper. I come back and I take it out of the wrapper and it's really fun. I unwrap it and, I'm sitting there on my table and then I sit and I read the whole thing. I mean, it takes me like an hour and I love it. And so, again, that was a very small tweak. It's not like I stopped reading news. I don't want to be uninformed and I still want to be as connected to the headlines as ever, but the way that I do it is very, very different. Same thing with social media. Same thing. I have reduced my social media in many ways. I will say one little note of caution, though, and that is we can mindfully make changes. And social media has a way to sort of creep in very gradually again. So it's really interesting. Like, I think it's probably like any addictive behavior that one little, like, oh, you're fine for 3 months and one little tiny step back into it, and you can easily find yourself in a place you didn't expect. And so it really requires some vigilance and some, I think, a daily practice of reminding yourself and talking to yourself about what you want out of this medium and what you don't,
yes,
and how much time you want to spend. And so anyway, I have gone back and forth with that. That's been tricky. Also, again, it has to do with my phone. So I think the phone really, the phone is one of the big variables in this that I'm still working out.
Agreed. I just want to pop up a few comments that have come in. Ashley says, Ninja, yes! Robot, no. So no roboting. Okay. Sorry, I had to do a little hand motion because we're, Megan Maddox says, hi. Hi, Megan. And Karen Blake Grana is asking, when do you turn off your devices at night? Which I wanted to make sure we answered because I think that's a really good question. And I, on a good day, like I've been trying, actually what I do is I have a separate office here and I leave my phone after I'm done for the workday. I just leave it plugged in here and I go downstairs and then it's family time. And that actually hasn't been that hard. I really feel like, it's like what we talk about it occurs to me, it's a lot like what we talk about with kids. So if you want to get kids off the screens, give them something else that's good to do. So, if we're playing, it sounds really old school, but we've been playing a lot of Clue around here, like a lot. And if we're playing Clue, or if John and I are playing around a cribbage or whatever, we're not checking devices and stuff. So I try to do that. If my phone is downstairs, the one thing I do explicitly do is I don't check email right before I'm going to sleep.
Yeah.
Not much good can come of that. So
right.
That's
Absolutely
the hard rule I have now. I just don't check it.
Yeah. Karen, I don't turn my device off, but I do put it in a different location. I use my phone as an alarm clock, and I'm starting to think that maybe that's not such a great idea, actually. I think maybe it might be a good idea to just get an alarm clock and start, peeling off the functionality from the phone and sort of delegating it to other devices so that I'm not constantly tempted. But I don't turn my device off. My solution is to put it in another room, and I'm not always successful. Sometimes I find myself on the couch in the evening and then 30 minutes has gone by and it's like, what am I doing here with my phone looking at stuff? So this is, like I said, it can just creep in and when I'm not paying attention. And so I'm still in that mode of really trying to establish new habits. But I do think out of sight, out of mind is good, and I will say that with that comes this anxiety of like, what if someone's trying to text me and I don't get it? And I think part of that is also just resetting people's expectations about how available you are. It's funny. This morning, my phone was actually in my bedroom because I was downstairs reading my newspaper, and I came upstairs and there was a text from Christine. Christine's on East Coast time. I'm on West Coast time. And I was like, oh no, did I miss something? I don't want to miss text from Christine, but that's only one example. This doesn't happen very often. Like, what about text from your kids or whatever? So I do think we need to think these things through and how we have alternative ways of reaching each other, but that's a temporary problem, right? It's not going to be a problem forever as people get used to the fact that you're not available after 8 p.m. via text, So anyway, roundabout answer, Karen, hopefully that's helpful. I think, and I think the other thing to say is that different aspects of phone use are problematic for different people. Not everyone has a problem with social media on phones. Some people, it's just not a problem for everyone. I think Christine always says this. It starts by, like identifying the problem first and then starting to think about what the solutions are. Like my news problem was very easily solved by a paper newspaper subscription. Other things, it takes a little more thought. So, maybe that might help you as you figure out, what you want to do with your device.
Right. Actually, MJ Tam is weighing in and saying the only time I put away my phone is when my entire family is home, which could be a good, hard, and fast rule to have. And an important one, because if I'm remembering correctly, MJ has a kid who's going to college this year. So very exciting, very exciting.
Bonding.
I know, right? It's so good. So
I just had an idea. Well, sorry to interrupt you, but I just had an idea about the phone. So if we give our, kids and spouses and other family members or friends we want to reach a special like text tone or ringtone, and we leave it, we might, and it's hearable. We could hear it, from the other room, and we know if it's just those people and everybody else is silent. That's another possibility.
Unless you're Christine Cohen, you never have your sound on.
I never have my sound on. I miss things all the time.
I just can't.
And I forget to check my voicemail.
Yeah. All right. Well, I want to make sure there are two other recalibration pieces that I want to talk about. So can I talk about them now?
Please.
Because I know this is a big one for people.
What?
I guess I was making a face because I don't know. It's another one of these things where it's like, are we really? I don't know. It's just an ongoing thing. But
spit it out.
No, I'm just saying. So it was really interesting. I actually kind of wanted to write a post about it, but I didn't get to it. But I'm doing it again right now. But back after the day after Easter, and I only remember it's Easter because I binged on so many mini Cadbury mini eggs. I'd made this beautiful ombre cake with Cadbury mini eggs on top, and then Cadbury mini eggs spilling out of the inside, and it was so beautiful. And so I ate so many that I actually felt sick. Like, you talk about eating yourself sick. I really actually felt sick. And I was like, okay, I got to step away from the mini eggs and other things. And I just decided it was a little bit like what I mentioned about social media. Like I just wanted to be more intentional about what I was eating. And I only wanted to have like a fun junky snack or alcohol if it was like from a happy place, not from a, oh my gosh, I'm so stressed or bored, so I'm gonna like eat this and that. And so I wasn't putting a lot of strict parameters around it, but I just kind of was like asking myself and checking in if one of these vices came up, like, do I really actually want this, or am I just wanting this because I'm bored or grumpy or whatever? I went 7 weeks. This is Christine Koh here. This is like unheard of. I went 7 weeks without alcohol, dessert. And this is the person who makes a lot of cake. I made cake for other people. We talked about this.
You made cake for me.
I made cake for you, and I didn't eat it. And I just served it and was delighted serving it because I knew it was your and Sam's favorite cakes, but I just didn't eat any because I wasn't in the mood for it. So alcohol, dessert, bread, like any kind of bread product, and any kind of junk food snacks. And I went 7 weeks, and it wasn't really hard. And the time when I did break actually was not break, but I decided, hey, I want to have
like take a break.
Yeah, take a break. I want to have a drink because I'm celebrating. Was actually, I don't know if she's still listening, but was with Karen Walrond at Mom Too, because we wanted to have a glass of champagne, and I'm like, and celebrate just being together. And it was before the Iris Awards, and I'm like, this is the perfect moment for me to, break from that routine and celebrate a drink with like one of my beloved friends. So I mention it because, and I wish, like I'm 44, right? So if I had done 7 weeks of that much restriction before, I probably would have lost like 20 pounds or something, but that didn't happen. But it did feel just really good to kind of pay a little more attention to what I was doing. And so that's why I wanted to bring that up. I'm actually, I sort of fell off that wagon for a while. And I'm now sort of back in another food intention practice, and it's nice. I mean, this is the perfect time to do it because of fresh produce and summer and all that stuff. Yeah, not for ice cream. I'm not eating ice cream right now, but yeah.
So a few things. First of all, I think I now understand the shifty looks you gave at the beginning of this chat. It's sort of like, are we going to talk about food now? Because it's funny, even that food conversation in some contexts can get very, I don't know, it's really loaded. And, but when we talk about it in the terms you're talking about it, in, meaning, I'm just sort of thinking about what I'm eating, and do I really want to eat that way? When do I want to eat that way? That actually sounds super empowering to me. And it's a choice just like any other choice, social media or anything else that we do without thinking. It's a nice thing to bring some just thought and mindfulness and conscious choice to whatever that is. I love that. And then the other thing is sort of funny, what you just said about falling off the wagon. I would argue you didn't fall off any wagon. You, at a certain point, decided either you didn't need to do it anymore, or maybe you forgot about it, whatever, but coming back and that recalibrating that we were just talking about at the beginning of this, it's just another step forward. I'm really starting to think about that maybe it's not we do something and then we fail and then we try again and then we fail. Maybe it's that we do something and then we're doing something else and then we realize I don't really want to be doing that, so I'm going to do something else. And so, that could just be really, really like Zen excuse making, or it could be something sort of profound, actually. I think it's a gentler way to think about recalibrating. And I definitely think at this stage, that's how I want to approach it, as long as I'm prepared to do the hard work. Recalibrating isn't easy. And but it also doesn't have to be super hard and painful like you experienced with your food choices. It doesn't have to be as hard as all that. It doesn't have to be punishing. It doesn't have to be like boot camp. It doesn't have to be like that. But it is work. And I think that when we decide to make changes in our life or change some tweaks here and there, we're going to feel it. Habit change, there's a reason why habits are so enduring. They don't change easily. And I think it's okay for us to just recognize that. Sometimes it takes a few tries.
Very good. Very good. Oh yeah. Actually, Karen is saying that glass of champagne was the first drink that she'd had in a while too, with wasabi peas. Asha Dornfest, get on board, girl.
Champagne and wasabi peas.
Yeah. It's all the thing. Like the most overpriced glass of champagne ever, but yeah, it was good. Oh, okay. And Karen says, thanks for the tips. Great ideas as always. Love your podcast. Thank you.
Thank you.
I love hearing from people. It's so nice. Yeah. Anyway, do you have any? I have one more thing I want to talk about, but do you have another recalibration thing that you want to talk about?
Gosh, there are a lot of things I could talk about. Yeah, actually, believe it or not, one of my other recalibration things is clothing. Isn't that weird?
Oh, I hadn't thought of that in this context, but tell me more. Okay,
so I'm like the opposite of Christine Koh when it comes to fashion and clothing. I hate buying stuff.
Like my old
come on. No, you know what I mean. Christine takes pleasure in some fashion and accessorizing, okay? And I'm just like, what is the least wrinkled thing on the floor next to my bed? Actually, today it was this t-shirt. No, I'm not kidding. This t-shirt was on the floor next to my bed, but that's not why I chose it. I find clothes shopping, choosing, like folding it up and putting it away, washing it, ironing it. I find it all just tiresome. And I wish I didn't. I wish I cared more. I love to see people dressed nicely and wearing things that they love and feeling good in it. But that's just not been my thing. And I'm starting to realize that is really a lack of self-care on my part. So I am trying to pay a little more attention to what I'm wearing and just notice. I'm a big fan of t-shirts with stuff on them, but like t-shirts with stuff on, like, phrases on it, I'm really into it. There's so many great t-shirts these days, but you can accessorize those things, man. And I'm into it. So yeah, so that's actually part of it for me too. I think, as you get older too, like there are just, I don't know, there are things that they're just habits that I've had that I suddenly have realized have gone on for a number of years. And it's like, wow, one of my habits has been not really paying attention to what I'm wearing. And I don't want to do that anymore.
So I hope I'm pronouncing this right. Michelle, anyway, says, I like to keep clothing simple.
As do I.
Yeah,
Sure.
which I think is a great thing.
Simple,
And in fact, I will say I have a walk-in closet, but it's not like a Sarah Jessica Parker walk-in closet. I mean, it's like a smallish rectangle. But I don't, and I don't own a dresser, which shocks people sometimes. I have an underwear bin that John thinks is ridiculous. It's just like a cloth box on the floor. But everything I own is in that closet. There's no, and I don't rotate, I don't rotate things and whatever. So yeah, it is possible to keep it really simple. And that's.
Oh yeah. Right. Simple. And actually, I love shopping secondhand. That's really fun. I for some reason, shopping secondhand, I feel like when I walk into a secondhand shop, I feel like somebody else has already chosen this. And so therefore it's special. So when I buy it, I'm like, not only is it super cheap, somebody else has already chosen this. I don't know. Somehow it feels special. Anyway.
Yeah. All right. Well, I have one more recalibration thing I very much want to talk about before we close. And there's this child movement shuttling situation that I have to deal with shortly. But how best to bucket this? I would say it is maybe recalibrating myself around inserting more play and rest into my schedule. I think that's the best way to say it. So the thing I've been experimenting with this work week, because after it was, in a way, having my big meltdown on Friday was kind of good timing because I had the weekend to like do the extreme unplug and recalibrate. But then I actually was nervous on Monday because I was like, okay, am I going to open my laptop and something's going to happen again? I mean, I had not been triggered by anything when that episode happened. So I was kind of like nervous about it. So my thinking was, okay, I'm still going to get up early so I can try to get a jump on work stuff, but I'm not going to check my phone first thing. And I'm going to like stretch and breathe and just try to get centered while my coffee does its thing. But I was like, what I am going to try instead is to block my time so that, I am incredibly focused. So not checking social media or anything, as we talked about earlier, on client stuff. Oh my God, I'm sorry, the trucks are rolling around again. And then switch gears and do some really focused time with my kids or whatever it is. So the reason I wanted to bring this up, because something unbelievable happened yesterday. So I was having one of these days yesterday. One of my best friends from college has a pool, very nice pool, and she had invited us over after my meltdown, and I said, I can't make it today, but is there any chance we could come like this week? Vi has really been wanting to learn to swim, but she refuses to do lessons, just like Laurel did. She's just embarrassed. She doesn't want to be around other people. And so she was like, yeah, come over. So we had planned it for Wednesday. So I got up early on yesterday, got in a good chunk of stuff, actually cleared off most of my client-facing stuff that I was responsible for. So that was great. And then I put on my out-of-office responder and I took the kids over to my friend's pool for like 4 hours. And while we were there, I totally forgot to even bring a book or magazine or whatever. So I was just sort of sitting, relaxing poolside, or I was at the edge of the pool chatting with the kids. And Violet learned to swim yesterday. I probably am not conveying like how big this was, but she's been talking about it. She's really wanted to do it. I have told her I'll give you private lessons if that will be less embarrassing. And she's like, no, that's more embarrassing because then it's just one grown up like dealing with you. So this has been a very big topic of conversation. But between Laurel coaching her, so cute, and then me giving her some tips about, strokes and whatever, like actually, I don't know if it's still on my Instagram stories, but there is like footage of her like a little otter, like paddling across like a stretch of pool. And that magic wouldn't have happened if I hadn't like gotten over myself and sort of like inserted some play and rest into the day. So I sort of still can't believe. I was like, okay, universe, if you're trying to send me a message that I need to like chill the hell out and, do more of this, then okay, I hear it now. It was just so magic. And she was so proud. And today, several times she's quietly said, I know how to swim now. Crazy.
Uh,
Crazy?
yeah, everything makes me cry these days.
Oh.
Do not cry on Facebook Live. Asha Dornfest.
Oh my gosh. Michelle Mariani Vaughn says Violet in the pool was the best IG story yesterday. Oh.
No, I'm just so no, I well, partially this brings back memories because my daughter Mira also did not want to take swim lessons. She was in swim lessons and was making no progress, and finally she just said to me when she was Vi's age or younger, I don't remember if she was younger or older, I don't know, but she just said, "Yeah, Mom, I'm not going to learn to swim this way."
Yeah.
She just said, "I need to learn by myself." And it was like, okay. And sure enough, she did. But I'm just imagining the pride that Vi must have felt. You know, she is a strong individual who has her own ideas. And I'm just imagining how not only it felt to actually learn to swim, but it felt to be supported by you in, you know, okay, you do this the way you need to do this. That is just, it's like the greatest thing. And for you to be able to see it, like you said, like talk about the universe just going womp on the head.
Yeah. Well,
sometimes the world is magical.
It is. It is magical. And I mean, my friend's house is like an oasis, so it in fact felt very magical. But yeah. I mean, I think we've talked about this, or I've referenced this before. We learned this lesson with Laurel too. She did not want to do lessons. And after our very first episode with her, like signed up in lessons, I kind of forced her to take, and she was just sobbing the whole time. I'm like, nobody can learn to swim when they're sobbing, standing in the pool sobbing. So like, there's just no point in doing it. So I wasn't trying to push lessons on Vi. I was just giving her some options. But she was just like, nope, not going to learn that way. I'm like, okay.
Gosh. Oh my gosh. My mom, like, it's so funny anyway, it's such an aside, but when I was young, you know, the idea of saying to my parents, this doesn't work for me. That was just not something I ever considered saying. And I was the one who, when I went to swim lessons, I screamed the whole time, screamed. I was so afraid. And then literally at the end, they threw me in the deep end. That, you know,
that's my dad. That was my dad's. That's how he taught us to swim. He would just throw us in.
Right. The proverbial throw them in the deep end. And I did manage to get myself out of the pool and then proceeded to be afraid of swimming for the next 10 years of my life. Yeah. So way to go, swim instructors. I actually took an adult swim lesson before a snorkeling trip once. I'm like, do I even know how to swim? And I was all nervous. I did know how to swim, but
I took an adult, at like a YMCA. So I actually have, I won't derail us too much, but I have water.
No, I already derailed us.
Yeah, no, because I was actually in a pond with a friend when he drowned. So I actually had like water.
Yeah, that's awful.
Or I used to. So I took like an adult scaredy cat, scared to swim class. It was actually called something like that. And it was kind of awesome actually to have like this like bubblegum popping 16-year-old who did not give a crap about what my issues were, like teaching me and this like 82-year-old man to swim. It was kind of amazing. But like after that, it was great. You know, it was great.
Yeah.
Great to just get over it. Anyway, I just wanted to pop up a quick comment from MJ. She says, I've been in a journey of changes this past year, so hard. And you ladies are helping me recalibrate and keeping more mindful. Thank you. That's awesome.
Oh God, no, you're gonna make me cry, MJ. What is wrong with me? Anyway, thank you for saying that.
That's awesome, and we are thinking of you and sending lots of love. Asha, any closing thoughts before I do need to run and shuttle
children
going to the beach. Take her somewhere.
Did you say beach?
She's going to the beach with a friend. Because this is what they do now. I don't even know where they're going, but this is what happens.
No, I really think we covered good ground. This was it's just really nice to be able to sort of talk about whatever comes to mind. I guess my last little tiny tip would be if any of this can happen in nature, that is a bonus. I just got back from a few days of camping and I took an absolutely amazing 10-mile hike here in Oregon that I have been wanting to take for so many years and just haven't for one reason or another. And now I have. And that will help you in this recalibration. I will say that it doesn't require camping. Karen Walrand, I know you're watching, and Karen says very unequivocally that she doesn't camp, but it doesn't require camping, but even just some time outdoors, just smelling the fresh air and
nature therapy.
Yeah, that will help. But that's all I got. I just think this conversation has been really helpful. It's been helpful for me. It's been great to have it with our listeners too.
Yeah. And after I get back to my office, I will drop links to things we've mentioned. And also, I'm sure we have a few back episodes that would really be helpful. Like,
right.
I know we have some fitness ones and other things. So
yes. I'll do the same.
Yeah, we'll share those later. And meanwhile, next week, we will be back with a regular episode. Actually, quite fittingly, I believe it is an interview with Jessica Turner about her new forthcoming book called Stretched Too Thin. We didn't even plan it that way. How crazy.
The universe is talking to us.
It's talking loud and clear. So anyway, we love you guys. Thank you for tuning in, and love seeing people's comments popping up, and we'll respond to everything later when we're entering social media space in a happy and positive way again. So as we are here. So bye, guys.
Bye, everybody.